Hey everybody, it's Lo and welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. Today I'm going to do a narcolepsy Q&A, so if you want to see that, then just keep watching. A little over a year ago, I uploaded a video about having narcolepsy and just narcolepsy in my day-to-day life, how I developed and was diagnosed with narcolepsy. And since that video was posted, I didn't think that a ton of people would see it or that it would be one of my most popular videos here, but it has over 16,000 views, almost 200 comments. It's just insane how much people enjoyed that video and found it useful. And in the comments, people saying like, this is exactly like my story, I have narcolepsy too, just all these different things. It makes me feel so much less alone in having narcolepsy because it's not discussed a lot. Nobody really talks about it. And the fact that so many people in the comments where they're supporting each other and saying like how they have narcolepsy as well and just thanking me for the video, I'm honestly like so thankful for you guys for just commenting and sharing your stories because it does make me feel less alone as well. And I didn't think that that video would get the amount of views and just response that it did. Also in the comments for that were a lot of people saying that not everything I was saying was completely correct, which I completely agree. That video, as well as this one, is through the lens of my experience with it, my day-to-day concerns and just different things that I'm living with. So that video, as well as this one, will not have all the answers. If you want actual like medical answers and more detailed, definitely just do more research, find more reputable sources. Narcolepsy does have different causes and there's so many unknowns with it. So again, I was saying that mine has an autoimmune disorder, but there are so many different ways that narcolepsy can develop and also show itself. So just want to say that that obviously was not a very in-depth scientific version. And then this, because I have gotten so many questions based off of that video, is also going to be through my own lens, my personal experience. Will not have all the answers, but I keep getting so many of the same questions that I figured I'll make this little Q&A just to kind of sum it up and answer anything that I may have missed in that original one. But again, if you have actual questions that need like scientific answers, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a neurologist. I'm just a girl with narcolepsy trying to stay awake and live her best life, and she needs naps and cannot answer all the questions, especially when they start to like be the same. I'm like, okay, I'll just make a new video. The question that I get asked the most by like everybody, and it's what medication I'm taking. So narcolepsy, since there's really no 100% definitive cause, it makes it very hard to find a cure. So right now there's no cure for narcolepsy. It's just kind of controlling the symptoms and just symptom management. So I take a generic Ritalin, just a a word that I can't say. And I take 20 milligrams, so I'll take the very first one when I wake up. When I'm working, that's around 6:30 a.m. They also tell me to keep a very consistent sleep-wake schedule, like wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends. Right now, being in lockdown and not having a job to go to, my wake up time is more like 7:30 a.m. So I'll wake up around 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., take my very first one, not eat anything for 30 minutes. So I can't eat anything 30 minutes before or after taking it, because if there's food in me, then it'll kind of slow the absorption and I won't absorb as much of it. So they want me to take it on an empty stomach and then not take any food afterwards. That would negate the benefits from it. So I take one in the morning, don't eat, then live my life. And then somewhere between 12:30 and 1, kind of depending on what time I've eaten lunch or when I plan on eating lunch, I will take a second one. And then by 9 p.m., they're both kind of like, it's worn off and I'm donezo. Don't recommend driving anywhere. So yeah, I'll take one in the morning and then one in the afternoon. Sometimes I'll eat food, like a meal around like 12:30. So I'll just take the medicine at 1:30, but that's pretty much it. So I take that 2 times a day, generic Ritalin, methamphetamine. I literally, so for this, because it's a class C drug, it also cannot be sent in the mail. So when I order it online to do my monthly refills, because they only give me a month's worth of my medication, I can't have it shipped to me. So I have to go to a Kaiser pharmacy, and every single month I pick it up, they swipe my card and they say, okay, what medication is it for? It's the only medication I have on there. And I go, the 20 milligram methamphetamine. And they go, oh, they say it correctly. And almost every time I have the very bad joke of being like, haha, yeah, the meth. They don't think it's funny. In my original narcolepsy video, I did talk about my medication and how because of my medication, they want me off of it for like a year before I try having kids, and then definitely not take it while I'm pregnant. And that's the one big concern I have, is that if I don't take it, I cannot function. There are days where, especially now that I have a bit more free time being in lockdown, that I do more drug holidays, which my doctor really wants me to do more of, just so my body doesn't get used to it and I don't have to ever up my dosage. So on a weekend when I know I'm not doing anything, maybe I'll take one in the morning or like a little later in the morning, just to kind of keep me awake and functioning, and then I won't take my second one for the day and I'll just kind of like be a lazy slob all day. Or I'll have a day where I just don't take either and I'm just chilling watching TV until I pass out, which is early. So I do take some drug holidays, but on those days I am very unproductive, and I'm a very type A person. I love being productive. The idea of, okay, not only are you pregnant for 9 to 10 months, so like obviously not gonna take it then, and then they say like, well, you can breastfeed and take it because like only a very small amount will get in. And I'm like, okay, but like a small amount for a grown human or a small amount for an infant? Then I'm like, well, maybe I just don't take it while I'm breastfeeding either then. And then they also want me off of it before I even try getting pregnant for like a year, just to make sure that it's out of my system. And for that, I'm just like, what? Am I supposed to just like not function for essentially 2 years? I want to have a child around 30, which is just 5 years from now. So I have to think, okay, then 3 years from now, I need to stop taking my medication, and I'm not in a point in my career at all where I can just like work from home and do everything. And I know that quarantine has been like, oh, well, now a lot more people can work from home because we realize that that works. But as a freelance producer, it's not really a work from home job. I'm also not in a position in my career where I can take just a bunch of work off and be fine. So it's just a lot that I have to think about, and like that's what gives me anxiety the most. But I don't plan on having kids anytime soon. So definitely an issue for like later on down the line, but it is something that I think about a lot. And again, that's not necessarily because of the narcolepsy, that's just because of the medication that I'm taking. And somebody in the comments did say that they took Concerta while pregnant and were fine. And then I did some research on that, and it's just the same as Ritalin and the same as Adderall, and it's just something that I don't want to risk if I can have the choice to not take this hard drug, essentially. Personally, for me, I think I would rather risk just being tired and unproductive and like putting that at the very low end of my priority list while pregnant in order to have a healthier child, versus taking my medication so I can do more in my day, but at the same time be at a higher risk for having a child with a heart defect, because that's one of the big things that those medications cause during pregnancy is like the heart won't develop as well as it should. And I think personally I would feel bad as a mom if my child wasn't the healthiest that they could have been because of a decision that I made that I easily could have made a different decision. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, and it's not a risk that I would be willing to take in the future when that day does come. The next question I get asked a lot is, how long have I been diagnosed? So I'm currently 25. It's 2020. What year did I graduate from college? I walked 2017. At least 3 years, 4, maybe 5 years. 5 years now? That sounds right. Because it was definitely while I was in college. I think I was diagnosed in 2015. I don't 100% remember. It was about 5 years ago. I was in college and I've been out of college for 3 years. So I think 5 years. How long did the process to get diagnosed take? I don't know at what point I developed narcolepsy. My mom said I was a really chill baby. They took me to the Hollywood Bowl. I slept. They were like, amazing child. We are the luckiest parents in the world. And then, you know, I'm in elementary school. I take naps. And then I'm in middle school and high school. I'm doing activities and volleyball. So yeah, I'm tired. It's just like nobody thought anything was weird about it. And then I went to college and I was still tired all the time. My mom was like, well, you're not doing anything, honestly, which she was right. I had no reason to be that exhausted. I didn't even go out that much. So at that point we were like, okay, maybe it's something. And by the time I went to my primary care physician and she referred me, it wasn't a super long process, but at the same time, I think Could it have been since I was born until 22 that I was just like living with narcolepsy and didn't know, or did I develop it sometime in childhood? Because I would get strep a lot growing up, and a lot of people say that it could be something that's just like in your brain already, and then once you have like strep or the flu, it just triggers it, and that's like the autoimmune disease part of it, is that it just gets triggered from having something like that. And I would get strep so much. At what point I developed it before I was diagnosed, that's very unknown, and I probably will never know. But from the point where my mom was like, this is an issue, we should get it checked out, maybe 6 months at most. I think I saw my primary care physician, and then she referred me to a sleep clinic, and then I saw the doctor there. He advised me to get a Fitbit and sleep with the Fitbit just to see if maybe I have restless leg syndrome and I'm tossing and turning a lot at night, which is what's making me wake up exhausted. Fitbit said sleep like a log. So then he did the sleep apnea test to rule that out. And then after the sleep apnea test, which I did for 3 nights, I think I did that, then I was sent to the overnight sleep clinic. So I did that overnight and then full day test, and that's probably a few weeks later. So I think all in all, it was maybe like 3 or 4 months, and the only point it took that long was because of like the referrals and the waiting and the getting appointments through Kaiser. And based off of that question, I got asked how many doctors I saw throughout that entire process of getting diagnosed, and I just saw my primary care physician at Kaiser Permanente. She referred me to the sleep department where I saw a neurologist, Dr. Nguyen, who he's the one who made me do all the tests for the restless leg syndrome, sleep apnea, and then sent me over to the overnight sleep clinic because that's something that they do out of house. And then I just stuck with him, and he's who I would see. I would see him once a year, and then every 6 months, when it wasn't like the year when I would see him, we would just do like a phone call, be like, hey, what's up? How are you sleeping? How's the medication? All those things. So he was the first doctor that I saw there, but he's in Orange County. So when I moved up to LA, he transferred me over to the sleep neurologist in LA County, who I've seen once. Yeah, I don't like his nurse as much though. She's The next question I get asked a lot is if I have cataplexy. So you can have narcolepsy, or you can have narcolepsy with cataplexy. And cataplexy, from my general understanding and information of it, is when your body feels a strong emotion, like you get super excited, super sad, that you essentially become paralyzed and just lose all muscle functions. And a lot of people will collapse if they just feel this surge of any emotion. So I do not have cataplexy. If I don't take my medication, my afternoon one, soon enough, like for example, I was at Target running an errand with these 2 other women on my production team for a show I was on, and we were just doing things at Target, and it was probably around 12:30, and we just thought we were gonna go in, out, be quick, get lunch, and then right after lunch I would take my afternoon medication. We took much longer in Target than anticipated, and we were walking around the Christmas aisle. I think we were just buying a bunch of like holiday stuff for one of the episodes. Just walking around, and I realized how late it had gotten. It was almost 2 p.m. and I did not bring my purse. I didn't bring anything with me, just my phone, because I was like, oh, I'll just leave it all at the office. I don't need anything. We're just going to Target, which you should always have your wallet when you're at Target, at least. And I'm pushing the cart around, and just my body, if I don't take the second medication soon enough, my body feels so heavy. It literally feels like somebody just put like very heavy sandbags on me, and my legs can't handle it, and I just like want to fall to the floor in like fetal position and just like can't walk. So I don't have cataplexy, but like if I don't have my medication by a certain time in the afternoon, like my body is useless. And that happened to me once when I was first diagnosed. They put me on a different medication, modafinil. So when I was first diagnosed, they didn't want to put me on a class C drug right away, so they prescribed me modafinil. I was going to my internship, and I walked to go get coffee. In the walk back, I could not do it because that medication was just doing absolutely nothing for me except messing with my birth control pills. It wasn't fun. I would be walking back and would just have to like sit on a bench for a minute, and I'll be like, I'll make it to my internship in 10 minutes because I can't walk right now because of all those issues. 1, it was messing with my birth control pills. 2, it wasn't helping anything. That's when they switched me over to the Ritalin. Next, I get asked a lot if I've tried keto. Some people in the comments have said that keto's really helped them, and if I've tried keto and just all these different diets. No. I'm willing to though. My boyfriend is really into keto, so he did keto last summer and said he lost 40 pounds off of it. I wouldn't do it to lose weight, but I'll do it with him because he's always like, maybe I'll do keto again. And I'm like, I like going to Bread Block and getting croissants. So maybe I will do keto with him and see if that helps my symptoms at all, just gives me more energy, and I will report back on that one. I shall do keto. The next question is if narcolepsy is forever or if it goes into remission. And from what I understand and from what I've read is that it is something that will last forever, which is just, you know, this is life now. But if it went to remission, that would be cool. Then I was asked if I've ever experienced lucid dreaming. I did talk about some sleep paralysis that I've had in my last video, and then other people said that it's not exactly sleep paralysis that I was describing. It was like some hypnagogic hallucination thing or a mix of both. Sleep paralysis is something that you do experience a lot with narcolepsy. So then somebody asked me if I've ever done lucid dreaming, and I wish, like, that seems very cool. I would love a little lucid dreaming moment, but I have not. At least not to my knowledge. I feel like I would be totally aware if I was like, cool, I'm lucid dreaming in my dream. Yeah, so not that I know of. Then I was asked if other people in my family, whether close or extended family, are affected by narcolepsy, and not to my knowledge. My mom wants to get my sister tested because she could sleep all day, but it's also because she goes to bed at 4 or 5 a.m. She's just like up all night texting her friends and watching TikTok videos. And it's like, what are you doing? She's like, texting my friends. I'm like, why are you all awake at 5 a.m.? I don't get Gen Z. Now I get why all of like the generations before millennials are like, ugh, millennials. Because I, as a millennial, I'm like, ugh, Gen Z. Why are you up when other people are getting ready to go to work? Your sleep schedule, so they're just nocturnal, they're weird. I don't think my sister has narcolepsy. She even says, I don't have it. I could be awake if I wanted to, I just choose not to. Whereas for me, I don't have that choice. All of a sudden I passed out and it's 2 hours later. Somebody also mentioned that narcolepsy could be genetic and wanted to know if I had the variant in the HLA-DQB1 gene. At the time I did not know, but this past year for my birthday, I got the 23andMe ancestry and genetic report because it does test for any variances in that gene. And the reason that 23andMe tests it is because if you have a variant, then you're also more susceptible to having celiac disease, which I do have a gluten sensitivity, but I'll just be bloated and cranky and not having a good time for a week. Definitely not celiac by any means, but I was super excited to take the test to see if maybe I do have that variant, and I don't. I thought that was interesting. Of course, there's so many different causes for narcolepsy, like I said earlier, and that they're not all known, and like why it happens to some people and in all these different ways is so unknown. But I thought like, oh, maybe that would give me a little bit of insight, or to see if it is something genetic that I could pass along to my children. So it still could be genetic in some other gene and some other variant, but for the HLA-DQB1 gene, it's normal. There were no variances. And then my craziest narcolepsy story. I think, and I mentioned this one in my last video, but the craziest story that I can think of is in one of my classes when I was sitting in the front row and I was awake and taking notes, and I can start to tell when my brain would doze off, because if you look back on all those notes, they just slowly start going down the side and getting really tiny to where they're just like dots on the paper. They're not even words anymore. So I was taking notes, could kind of like, was trying to keep myself up because I could tell, I'm like, oh, those words are falling off. I was sitting there, I think I was like, kind of like resting on the desk, and this professor was just like making marks on the whiteboard. Like he wasn't even writing words or anything. He was just explaining something with marks in his own way. And all these marks all of a sudden were moving on the whiteboard. And then in that classroom, there were whiteboards and then a door on each side of the whiteboards. And I was awake because I could hear what he was saying. I was completely aware of what was going on. But I was also aware that like I'm awake but asleep, which is like that sleep paralysis kind of thing. And I could just see all the little things on the whiteboard moving. People were like coming in and out of the doors, and nobody was going in and out of the doors, but people were going in and out. And the whole time I'm just like drooling. So I think that might be my craziest story. Also, again, don't know when I developed narcolepsy, but my mom said that the crazy story that she experienced of me falling asleep is I think I was like 3 or 4 and my bedroom was Pocahontas themed, and I have long dark hair, so I can blend in with Pocahontas pretty well. And there was one afternoon and I was just like, I'm gonna go. And like, I think it was just me and my mom there. My dad might have been at work, didn't have my sister yet. And I just went off, and my mom like wasn't 100% paying attention, and like she always paid attention to me, great mom, but in this moment she's just kind of like, okay, like Lauren's around the house somewhere. And then it dawned on her, she was like, I have no idea where Lauren is. So she was running, and at the time our house was like pretty small, so like there weren't that many places I could hide. So she's running back and forth. My backyard actually had a gate that went to our neighbor's backyard because they had a girl that was born 2 days after me, so we just grew up together. So my mom thought maybe I went through the gate and just like went over to their place. So she ran over to their place. She's like, is Lauren here? And they're like, haven't seen her. So my mom's running up and down the street, freaking out, happens to run back into my room. And since I was probably like 3, my bed wasn't like a full open bed, but also wasn't a crib. It kind of had like a railing still. So I tried getting myself in bed, and in doing so, just like got myself half over the bed. So, and then with my Pocahontas curtains right there, that like I just blended in, and I was passed out like over the rail with like half of my body in my bed and the other half hanging out. And my mom thought she lost me for like an hour, and I was just passed out in my room in the weirdest position. So yeah, that's probably a crazy story that I just don't remember, but my mom was like, I literally thought I lost you, and I was freaking out, and I was like, I lost my daughter. But yeah, the one that I remember is just being in school and like everything moving, and I was like, this isn't right. So that is my little narcolepsy Q&A. If you do like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Again, leave any other questions in the comments, as well as what else you would like to see here on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.